Hey everyone, this is Ed Gutowski, and I wanted to really just create a video which kind of highlights are the things that I look for that make a good essay. And generally, you can almost look at this as kind of like a visual recorded rubric of kind of what goes through my mind as I'm looking for a good essay. So, how do we write a good essay? So, let's take a look. So writing a good essay, in my view, kind of requires three things. We kind of look at the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So what you want to do is you want to start off your paper with writing a good hook, right? That's really important to writing a good hook. And I'll tell you that there are kind of three ways that I think you can write an effective hook. You can tell a story, right? If you have a personal story that relates directly to the topic, that's really going to improve your writing. My favorite story for a hook was years ago when I had a student. We were looking at George W. Bush's speech the night of September 11th, the night of the worst terrorist attacks on U.S. history. And the students started their hook where their mom came in, woke them up. It was September 11th. The mom was freaking out. She went into the living room. They watched the TV. The plane had crashed into the first tower. All of a sudden, they heard a plane had crashed in the Pentagon, and her father worked at the Pentagon. And the mom was trying to pick up the phone, call her dad. She couldn't get through to it. And then they watched as the second tower collapsed. And then what the student did is went directly into their analysis of Bush's speech. But I remember this was such a great hook because it was a personal story. Throughout the paper, I was wondering, hey, did the dad make it out? And at the end of the paper, in the conclusion, the student tied it back to their hook and said their dad was safe but immediately got sent to Afghanistan. So if you have a story that relates to a topic, that's a great way to create a hook. You can always add a quote. If you quote something, it makes you look knowledgeable, it makes you look smart. Sometimes quoting a prompt shows you took the time to read the instructions. I always like a question. Questions can get readers to critically think. However, if you use questions, make sure you don't answer your questions. Don't use yes or no phrases. The reader assumes the paper will answer your questions. And then you can always make sure you want to introduce the prompt and end with a clear thesis. Now we can talk about a thesis. I always define a thesis as taking a stand on a specific issue, right? You want to take a position. So for example, you could have a thesis that says pop culture has a positive impact on society. You could have a thesis that says I support the plan to join with businesses for proper funding. Or you could have a thesis that would say it would be a great idea to require students to do community service and graduate. Notice these three thesis statements, they take a stand on an issue, they give direction to the paper, and they let us know what the student is going to argue. Now, as far as paragraph development, right, I always think what you can do is you can, after your hook that ends with a thesis, you can devote your various paragraphs to topic sentences, things you're going to argue in a paper. So in this example, if your thesis is pop culture is having a positive impact on society, your first paragraph could be a topic sentence that TV such as Sesame Street encourage kids to read. Then you would explain that. Then you'd shift to another paragraph that might say music by artists such as Taylor Swift empower women. You'd explain that idea. Then you'd shift to what might be your third or fourth paragraph. You could say, films like The Avengers show the importance of heroes. But what the idea is, you have your hook, you end with a thesis, then you're going to devote various paragraphs that have clear topic sentences that will support that thesis. And then all you need to do is add a conclusion. So I just wanted to make this video to kind of give you an idea of what's going through my mind that makes up a good essay.